Okay, we're gonna start.
This is
Welcome. So,
Exactly. It doesn't taste like any special.
all right, we're starting. Recording in progress. You heard the message? Starting. Recording in progress. Welcome to the weekly Ein Yaakov class. Ein Yaakov is a collection of stories and interesting recounts, and interesting pieces of information collected from the Talmud. Familiar with the Talmud? So the Talmud is the basis together with the Mishnah, Mishnayot,
Mishnah.
English.
Yes, Mishnah, not
Mishnah.
Mishnah.
Okay, Mishnah. So the Talmud and the Mishnah are the basis of the oral Torah, and much of it is complicated and hard to understand, and you got to really go deep into it and get analyzing from all different angles. So they made a collection of all the interesting, more simple topics, insights, things, lessons you could learn from, and they compiled it in this book called the Ein Yaakov, and that's the book that we learn and we have a weekly class on. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in. The topic which we left off last week was the topic of nivel pet. David, I think you weren't here. The foul language. You hear what we learned?
No, he wasn't.
Language, I should have been.
Yeah, I put it in the title. That was the topic last week. We spoke about the importance of having clean language, and today we are going to move on to some other topics. And we start off with a Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Shloisha Dvarim, Yisrael. Shloisha Dvarim, three things. Tzarech Adam Loimer b'seich Beisai. A person, before he leaves his house late Friday, when he's going to shul, he's going to synagogue. So when he's going to leave his house, he needs to remind his family three things. Number one, he should remind them, did you give Meiser? Did you give the tithing?
Tithes.
Tithings. The rule is when you have fruits and vegetables, you need to separate a certain amount to give to the Kohanim, to the priests, and to tithing. Tithing.
David, you understood.
No, now we know.
Yes, but there are English speakers.
All right, tithing.
It's like
okay?
it's like when I misspell a letter in one word. Like instead of thanks, I write thanks with the T, let's say. And people are like, what's thanks? I'm like, oh, shkoyach, you don't understand what I mean.
Okay, so we have to remind the family members to give the tithing, to give some when you have fruits and vegetables, you need to give a portion of it to the Kohen, to the priest, and a portion to the Levite. We have a Levi over here. And only then afterwards are you able to partake from the food and enjoy the food. On Shabbat, we are not allowed to give the tithing. Separate the tithing, you can't do on Shabbat. Why? It's a type of transaction. You're separating this goes to him, and this goes to him. It's a transactions, and transactions is similar to business, and we can't do business on Shabbat. So therefore, you're not allowed to do tithing on Shabbos. If a person's going to have a big salad, his wife's going to make a huge salad for the Shabbat dinner, and he's going to come up from shul and she's going to say, "Oh, we got a problem. What's the problem? We forgot to give the tithing, and then we're stuck. That salad is going to go to waste, and no one's going to have what to eat for Shabbat. So therefore, it's important to give a reminder to your family members to make sure to take care of what you got to do." What is it? What is it? It's the Torah says that when you have fruits and vegetables in the land of Israel, that doesn't apply outside the land of Israel. In the land of Israel, you need to separate some of the fruits and some of the vegetables, and some needs to go to the Kohen. You're familiar with the term Kohen? And some goes to the Levite, the Levi. What if there isn't? You put it aside, and when you'll give one. You don't have to give it right away. It just needs to be separated, and then the rest of the food becomes permitted to be eaten, to be consumed. This is in Israel? In Israel, yeah. These days, every day? What? Every day? Whenever you have whenever you get fruits and vegetables that are coming from the field. Which means if you buy from a store, most religious stores in Israel do it for you. If you're actually in Israel, even these days, these days it's a little different because we don't know exactly who's the Kohen, who's the Levi. No offense. So we can't really give it. So we don't really give it to them these days. We just separate a little bit these days. Like we separate something, and that's like symbolic of separation, and everything else becomes clean.
This tastes like alcohol.
It tastes like normal.
But in time of the Bet HaMikdash, when Mashiach comes, we're going to go back to doing it the correct way of giving 1 out of 50 goes to the Kohen, and then 10% goes to the Levi, and the Levi needs to give 10% to the Kohen. There's a whole list of what needs to be separated. So that's the first reminder that one needs to do when he's going to, before he leaves his house for Friday, late Friday. Second reminder is regarding making a eruv. Eruv is a rabbinic decree for if two people share a courtyard. If you want to be able to carry from one courtyard to another courtyard, you need to make a eruv. You need to make some type of agreement with your neighbor that you're going to be sharing the courtyard, and you're going to be able to. Therefore, you'll be able to carry in the shared space. For example, if we want on Shabbat to be able to carry in the alleyway, driveway over here, we need to do two things. Number one, we have to put a string. If you ever see these strings around, we have to put a string that serves as kind of a gate blocking this property, making it private property. Otherwise, it would be open to the public domain. So we put a string that makes this area private. And number two, another thing that we need to do is, because this driveway is shared between us and our neighbors in the condos over here, so if we want to carry in that space, even though part of the driveway is mine, but because part of the driveway is also theirs, we need to make some type of agreement. If the person is Jewish and religious, we then do a eruv with food. We put together a box of matzah, something. We do it once a year, and you put the box and you say, "This is mine and yours together, a shared box of food. We're joining together over this box, and now we have permission now to use each other's space. We could both carry in each other's property." If the person is not religious or not Jewish, then you buy the rights to share his space. You give him a nickel. It could be any. It could even be a penny. I think. Just give him something, and you say, "I'm buying my rights with this. No easement, no legal documents, but just
Talk to my lawyer.
you give a nickel, and then you could carry in shared space." So that also can't be. I think so. It's maybe not a penny. That cannot be done on Shabbat. So if it wasn't done yet, and you want to be able to carry, you have to remind the family to do it before. And lastly, you have to remind them to light the candles, because if it gets too late and it gets sunset, once the sun sets, it's too late to light the candles. And the reason why we light Shabbat candles, besides being a tremendous mitzvah, it also brings peace in the house. And if once the sun sets, it's too late to light. So therefore, you have to remind the family to do it in time.
Don't you get, isn't there a punishment that forever afterwards you have to light 3 candles or something if you forget?
I don't know about 3, but there is a custom that if
if
someone
you-
forgets one time, the woman forgets to light 1 week, she adds an extra candle.
Yeah.
That is a custom. Okay, so where do we learn that this is a concept of reminding everyone to do these 3 things? So Rabbi Yeshua, son of Levi, he says a verse. This is a verse in Job, right? Via daita, you shall know, ki shalom alecha, there's peace in your house. Ufakadeta navcha, you should remind your household. V'lei sektan, you should not sin. We learn from this verse that there are certain reminders that we have to make at home in order that we shouldn't sin, and in order that there should be peace in the house. Rabbi bar Huna, Rabbi the son of Huna says, even though the rabbis have said that you have to remind your family, the household, for these 3 things, you have to say it tzarech lemimrinu v'nichusa. You have to say it calmly. When you're reminding them, don't forget to light the candles, do the tithing. No, you have to say it calmly. In order for it to be accepted, you got to speak calmly. It's an important lesson for all of us, not just when we're giving reminders to our household before Shabbat. This is an important reminder. Whenever you need to remind somebody about something, which I'm doing right now, I'm reminding you, you need to say it nicely. Am I doing a good job?
Remember that. when
Am I
you're
saying it nicely?
addressing me next time.
Am I saying it nicely? Yisrael, could you bring the copies from downstairs? Thank you. Rav Ashi says, I didn't hear this from Rabbi, because the rabbi before said I heard it from my teacher. Rabbi Ashi said I didn't hear it from my teacher, but it's common sense. The kayamti bisvar, it's a common thing, it's an obvious thing, common sense, that if you want somebody to accept your reminders, you have to say it calmly and nicely. So he says it's a common sense. The next discussion we have over here is, when is twilight? Bein hashmoshes. Twilight is a halachic term for the time between sunset and nightfall. The time between when the sun sets and when it's dark, when it's nightfall, when it's completely dark outside, is a period of time. There's a different rabbis have different arguments how long it is. That time is actually a suffix. It's a doubt whether it's considered day or whether it's considered night. Because it's a suffix, it's a doubt. We're not allowed to do any work during that time. All the laws of Shabbat start from sunset. Even though technically it's still a little bit light outside, not yet night, we still cannot do any of the laws that we're not allowed to do on Shabbat because, thank you, because it is a chance that it is Shabbat. The same thing is one second, when we're finishing Shabbat, we complete Shabbat not by sunset, we complete Shabbat by nightfall. Because since it's a doubt, so we always err on the side of questions. Then I say it's error on the side of questions.
The way I was told,
Yes.
it's when the sun dips under the horizon until there are 3 stars in the sky that you see visibly, that's twilight.
That's right. So
That's how I was
that's
told.
true. No, it's true. But there's different size stars. So because of this fact, there's different size stars. There's actually an argument. How long is this period of time called twilight? But you are correct. We do wait
Finally,
until 3 stars. We wait till we hit 3 stars.
going back to last week, what was the thing about cursing? It's evil or disrupting or.
Oh, actually, oh man, okay, printed the wrong ones. Okay, 139 you didn't get, right? You got 139? Oh, really?
Of course, how do you think I've been following you?
Okay. Oh, so you also have 140?
No,
Okay, sorry. Printed the wrong pages.
that's it. You cut me off at twilight.
David, you're gonna have to listen to that class on YouTube.
I think I'll start broadcasting my own classes, you know?
Okay, we'll try this again. I printed the wrong pages by mistake.
I would, but you know, my computer died after 9 years of service.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's move on. So wait, how long is twilight? Mishetishka hachama, from when the sun sets, as long as the eastern sky is red.
Cannot be, has to be the western.
No, so I've actually once, I don't know if it's, maybe in some places of the world it's more common, but I've seen it actually in America, in here. I was shocked. The complete, by sunset time, usually that whole side is red.
Yes,
I've seen the red come on the opposite side.
have you?
It's a reflection, I guess, or I've seen it. I
Not a
couldn't believe it.
reflection.
Well, whatever, it was red. It was, I came out of shul from Mincha, and the opposite side, it wasn't all the way east, but like pretty close to east, was red. I guess a certain part of the
I've
world that
never
is like
seen
that.
that in all my days.
Certain parts of the world is like that.
Yeah, it's like when you're driving in the morning and the sun's coming up, it lights up the sky and you see that the whole sky is red.
Right, that's
That's but
Eastern, that's in the morning, right?
East.
Yeah, it makes
They're
sense.
saying
Right,
in the
right, it's
west.
the opposite. When it starts getting dark, when it says the word hichsif means silver, it becomes like gray. Then when the upper horizon starts being matching the lower horizon, then that's considered night. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Nehemiah says we go according to time-wise, from when the sun sets, the amount of time it takes a person to walk chatzi mil, half of a mil. Mil is a certain measurement, a little less than a mile. And
Are you
so
talking about a meter?
no, mil. Mil
A
is a
mil.
certain mile. That type of like we have mile. So a mil is a certain type of distant measurement.
Okay,
So
Well,
yeah,
we don't
half
have-
a mile.
What? So half of a mil, which is it's not really a mile, but whatever that measurement of space
not a
distance.
kilometer.
No, it's not.
Okay, so it's an old measurement.
Yeah. Rabbi Yossi says this time of Ben Hashemashos is actually goes very swiftly, like the blink of an eye. When it goes, the day goes out, night comes in. So according to Rabbi Yossi, it's a much shorter period of time. Different commentaries these days discuss exactly what these opinions are. I'm just going to tell you what we do. Custom amongst most Jewry is that we go with the time of 22 minutes. Some do 22 minutes. Some do a little
18
more.
hours.
What I was actually looking in, I found something very interesting. We all know there's this concept of 18 minutes. 18. Most Jew, if you look in any calendar, there's a time when you're supposed to light Shabbat candles. It's 18 minutes before sunset. Okay, I could be never heard this. According to some opinions, that time is beginning of Bein Hashmashos. And therefore, because it's considered Bein Hashmashos, men, which always take the permission to continue doing work, should really try as much as possible not to do work already from the beginning of the 18 minutes, from the time that we light candles. Because there are some opinions that hold that is already beginning of time of Ben Hashmashos.
But if we don't hold that opinion, then it's
So
not.
there are some opinions, so therefore we should try to
About
leave it
officially
for
possible,
emergencies. There's no official ruling.
Because I actually remember hearing a different shot completely. I heard that if you actually trust one opinion over the other, so I was like, why not just do just in case to satisfy both? And another person told me, no, it's that you're showing your rabbi that you completely trust his opinion, that you're exactly doing it.
Okay, whatever. Okay, the next topic over here is about the Be'era Shel Miriam, the well of Miriam. When the Jews were in the desert, they were supplied with water by a moving well. There was a big, huge stone that traveled along with them, and from this stone came out water. And it was a traveling well, so they had fresh spring water, or not spring water, they had fresh rock water whenever they wanted. Delicious water. And eventually this rock ended up in the Kinneret in Israel. And the Mishnah says, if you want to see this well, the Gemara says, if you want to see this well, go up to Mount Carmel, which some commentaries changed that to a different count, Har Yeshimon, different mountain. And you should look from the mountain. And if you see in the water some type of rock that looks similar to a sifter, you should know that that rock is the well of Miriam. Rav says that the Be'er Shel Miriam is actually, till today, a traveling stream of water. I don't know if that exists scientifically, if you find it on Google Maps, but he says there is this concept called a traveling well, not a traveling well, Mayan. It's a
stream.
Traveling stream that goes from place to place. And,
Yeah, of course.
And actually in LA, so I was last year in LA, and someone told me that this is the spot of the LA River. And there was no river there. And he says, this is the spot of the LA River. And a few days later, it poured.
Yeah, and it fills up.
And there was a river there. It was amazing. It was like a huge river. And 2 days before, it was completely dry. So there's traveling rivers. So I don't know.
That happens in the Southwest all the time.
How would you recognize it then?
No, traveling means that it's not like in a place. Well, if it's from the rain, then you know it's from the rain. If it's not from the rain, streaming live stream.
Not that kind of streaming, no.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have any Talmudic archaeologists that grab the ancient maps and actually try to pinpoint anything?
Of course.
We
Lots of
do.
maps. There's
And is
many
there an
books.
agreement where everything is, or
Not everything. Some things there's no real practical difference, so there's not really going to be much arguments over. But there's lots of maps. I've seen books and books of it's called Atlas. Is that Atlas? That's the name of
atlases?
Atlases.
Yes.
Yeah. Jewish Atlas. Yeah.
So I can go to an atlas and say, okay, this is.
For
Mount
example,
Sinai.
where's Mount Sinai? Where's all these? They have places. Not everyone agrees with everything, but
No, not everybody
Right.
agrees. Okay, we're back to where we were.
okay. Rabbi Yossi, I mean, just because it's something on Wikipedia doesn't mean that that's undisputed either. Wikipedia just writes it very.
It's edited by 100 million people. You can't trust it.
Exactly.
No, but it's
Sure.
edited back very quickly to the original
Yeah,
sources.
and then it's edited back again and again and again.
That's true.
We're very argumentative people, aren't we?
No, we're not. Okay,
No,
Rabbi
we are.
says
What?
that- He's talking about us right here.
Yes, even us.
Oh, let's argue. No, it's not
You
true.
use 3 opinions.
No, it's not true.
Okay, go ahead.
We're arguing.
Thank God
Okay.
we're not scholars, right? Can you imagine?
Here's an interesting thing. If someone does malacha, he did a forbidden act on Shabbat on the
Uh-oh.
time of Ben Hashmashos, which
Then
means
you know who you are.
Okay, so for example,
Still
let's
doing
say
that.
we said during those 22 minutes or 26 minutes, whatever the time, 32, whatever time it is, between sunset and nightfall, if someone wrote or someone,
You mean in between sunsets, where the 22 minutes after that, we're
Yeah.
not sure?
yeah, whatever the time is,
Mhm.
there's different opinions what it is. But let's say during that time, someone turned on the light. And then the next night, he again turned on the light at the same time. Okay. So such a person, he desecrated the Shabbat twice, but both of them was in the time of a doubt. He said that during that time, we're not sure it's a day,
Oh, so he gets
we're not sure it's night. Such a person is obligated to bring the sacrifice called katas. Someone accidentally or without knowingly desecrated the Shabbat. He has to bring, when Mashiach comes, he has to bring a sacrifice called the chatas, the sin offering. This person, even though he was in doubt when he did it, because he did it twice on both before Shabbat and after Shabbat, he obviously desecrated Shabbat, one of them. Before Shabbat, it was day. Okay, so if that time is day, then when he did it the next day, he obviously desecrated Shabbat because it was still Shabbat the next day. If you say that that time that he did it is considered night, so that means he desecrated Shabbat Friday. So either or, he's going to have to be obligated to bring this sacrifice.
And what is the sin sacrifice?
It's when Mashiach comes, you're going to take an animal, a goat, a young goat, and you bring it to Beit HaMikdash, the Kohen, and the Kohen's going to do the whole process of slaughtering it and putting it on the Mizbeach.
Will this apply for everything? For every sin?
Yeah.
Whether turning on a light or, sidestepping or doing something else wrong?
So
Korban
no,
sin.
no, not every sin has a. It's a good question. Not every sin has a korban you have to bring. There's only certain ones, the ones that are more severe, the ones that have the penalty of kares, of being cut off. There are certain more sins which are considered more severe, and those that need to bring the sacrifice.
Yeah, a korban is a sacrifice.
Sacrifice, yeah.
Now, if it's not a sin offering, what is cut
Happens.
off?
What? Cut the papers from the cut machine.
Oh.
The what? Kares? Cut off.
You're saying
Kares.
cut off.
Cut off. No, cut off. There's a punishment in the Torah called kares. Kares literally means, the literal translation means cut off.
Yes.
C-U-T off. Cut off. What's that punishment? Certain sins that are very big sins. For example, desecrating Shabbat, eating on Yom Kippur, forbidden relations. Those carry the penalty of kares, that penalty of being cut off, which means figuratively his soul is being disconnected from its source, and he will die young. These days, doesn't usually happen that people die young. In the time of the Beit HaMikdash, people would actually die when they hit the age of 50 or 60. They would die as a part of the punishment for this penalty. This penalty is called kares. And that shows on a more severity of the sin. If a sin just gets lashes, which is it's a sin, we can't do it. But if the penalty is just you get lashed, that's a smaller penalty, right? So we're not really supposed to judge. In Pirkei Office, it's in Ethics of Fathers. It says that one should never judge and start calculating sins. Oh, this is more severe. This is less severe. So I could do this, but I can't do that.
Same with good deeds.
You're not supposed to, also good deeds. You're not supposed to calculate because we have no idea what Hashem, God, wants from us more. We have to try our best. Can't expect everyone to do everything. Some of us are not religious or we're becoming religious. So we do our best. But the reform, they started picking and choosing, oh, this, yeah, this, no, let's cut out this, that. We're not allowed to do that. We keep everything. And we understand that if I'm
People
not
set
doing,
our level, not just
Yeah.
say we're not gonna everything.
whatever we could do, we do.
Mm.
That's what we are part.
And
If someone,
And what happens if you can't do?
we try our best.
Then
And at least we feel
it's a
guilty.
different show.
At least-
Then the reform show.
At least we then feel guilty, or at least we should know. The first step is knowledge. Is knowledge of knowing what we're supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do. And then there's we spoke about this once in the past, but in today's day and age, many of us, a lot of people grow up not religious. come from Russia, where there was no religion allowed. Some are second generation Russians where they got that they received no Jewish education. Most of these people that received no Jewish education, they have the title Tinoikos Shenishbu.
Show Mishpah, no?
Tinok Shenishba. Tinok Shenishba, it's not so much, there's not so much on the paper. Tinok Shenishba literally means a child that was captured. Imagine you have a child of a religious family, a 2-year-old baby is captured, and he's sent off to some Arab, God forbid, to some Arab place, and he grows up an Arab. And 20 years later, he comes back home, and he finds out he's Jewish. But he doesn't keep Shabbat, doesn't put on tefillin. Anyone have any complaints against him? Anyone going to say, hey, we know, hey, you don't do that, you can't do this, you have to do this? No, it's obvious. It's not his fault. He grew up an Arab. He grew up amongst non-Jews. You can't have any claims. Most people, most Jewish people these days that are not religious fall somehow or some way into this category that we don't really blame them. Is this a green light for everybody now to do any sin you want? And you come upstairs, you come upstairs and you say, I was by Rabbi Bryski's class and he told me I'm okay and I'm all right. No, I'm not giving any green light.
Solution by him.
No, we're not giving any green lights. We're giving a perspective. People not necessarily get the right education. People have temptations which are much stronger these days than previous generations. And there's many excuses. Now, the excuses don't justify. We have to try our best to be as religious as possible, take it step by step, and do our best. I actually just read it over Shabbat. I read a very cute story. Somebody was becoming more religious, and he sent a message to the Rabbi, Babich Rabbi. He said, what should be my next step? I'm ready to do a little more. What should be my next step? The Rebbe wrote back to him that you should fulfill the laws of Shulchan Aruch. You should fulfill the laws of the Code of Jewish Law. He got this back, and he's like, I don't understand. I asked, what's my next step? I can't. Code of Jewish Law is everything. So he tells his rabbi, what does the Rebbe want me to do? He wants me to do everything? I can't. I want to know what should be my next step. And his rabbi was also a little surprised by such an answer. He didn't expect the Rebbe to write that. So next time he went to the Rebbe, he asked the Rebbe, you want this guy to do everything? And the Rebbe smiled and said, no, you didn't understand. The Shulchan Aruch itself also says you have to do things according to steps. So when I wrote that he should follow the Shulchan Aruch, I mean, do it in a way that makes sense. Yeah, you do step by step. Follow Shulchan Aruch, open up and say, okay, now today I'm going to start putting on tefillin. Today I'm going to start keeping Shabbat. Today I'm going to start going to shul. And today you try everyone on their level. Yeah.
But what about the opposite? What about people who are raised religious and eventually
Crapped out.
walked off the derech?
Okay, so there are, that's a very good question. Even on those people that go off the derech, we are living in such a difficult time that most people, even the people that went off the derech, are justifiable. Again, I'm not giving no green lights, but I'm giving a perspective of understanding everyone, the temptations in our times with the internet and social media and depression and mood swings, mental health. There are so many reasons that you cannot blame anyone.
Mental health didn't exist back in the day. Right?
No, there's different types.
David was asking, Hashem, why are people going mental?
No, there always was.
David, are
but
we talking?
King David.
Oh, just to discuss.
Was asking, why mental illness existed. Why people would go, mad or have conniption fits.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic because David, I have to go in 10 minutes, and David wanted to get to the exciting topics. So we're
No,
gonna move on. Okay. Omer Abzeir says, Anah Chazise, remember, this is a collection of stories from the Gemara. So sometimes you have like a totally random story over here. You look into the Gemara, the Talmud, where the story comes from, it gives a little bit of context. So Rabbi Zera they're discussing on Shabbat, are you allowed to bathe on Shabbat? You're allowed to wash one's body. Certain places you are, certain type of places you can't. There are depends if the water was heated up before Shabbos, if the water is cold. There's many different discussions. We're not going to get that at now. There was a discussion about one rabbi, Rabbi Zera, says that I noticed my rabbi in the water on Shabbat, and he wasn't whatever, and he learned some laws from that. Because of that story comes the following story. I'm giving this introduction. You shouldn't be like
One story always.
you shouldn't be blown away by the story. Like this is what you're coming to teach.
That explains why Rabbi Lieberlo always gives such a long brush. Because one story leads to another.
That's right.
Leads to another.
Okay, so here's the story.
So we just solved the mystery.
I also want to give another introduction that when we learn a story like this in the Gemara, it's holy. Okay, it's a holy story. Try to take
Every other story is that story. I'm just saying.
try to take away any other thoughts,
Yeah.
and let's focus on the holiness because it's a story in the Talmud, so it's a holy story. I didn't make it up; it's written here, and it's holy. It could be you might look at it if you look at it with fleshy eyes, you'll see a fleshy story, but it's a true. This is part of Torah. Rabbi Zera says, I witnessed my teacher. His name was Rabbi Avahu. I witnessed my teacher that he was going to bathe. It could be he was going to the mikveh. In those days, bathing suits were not yet invented, and he was going to bathe in the river. And when he was going down to bathe, sheniach yadav keneged panav shalmata. He put his hands to block his private parts in front of him. And I saw him going down to the river like that. V'lo I don't know, and I have a doubt, says Reb Zera, im naga, im lo naga, if his hands touched his privates or didn't. Right away, the Gemara interrupts and says, obviously he didn't touch. We learned, Rabbi Eliezer says, anyone that is going to hold the male organ while he is using the bathroom,
It's also until you're married.
it's ki'ilu, it's as if he's going to be bringing a mabul, a flood, to the world. What's the reason? It doesn't say that here, but the reason given is because when one is going to touch his organ, it's possible to arouse it, excite it, and that will cause him to have thoughts, and those thoughts could be improper thoughts, and that could come to the emission of seed, which is a very terrible sin, and the reason for the great flood, the reason of the mabul was because of this sin. So therefore, it's forbidden to touch it. So obviously, Rabbi Avo, which is the rabbi that was seen going to bathe, when he was blacking himself, he obviously was doing it for other reasons. He wasn't doing that. He obviously didn't touch it. So now Abaye comes and says, no, it's possible that he did touch it. Now, he's not coming to say that he touched it. He's coming to explain Rabbi Zera's doubt. Rabbi Zera was the one that witnessed his teacher, and he says, I'm not sure if he touched or not. We asked a question on Rabbi Zera. How could you be not sure? It's obvious that he didn't, because you're not allowed to. Rabbi Abaye is going to say, it's possible that he did. And I'm going to tell you why it was allowed for him to do it.
He's married.
So he doesn't say, the commentaries actually discuss why he didn't give that answer, but he didn't answer. It says in Shulchan Aruch that if you're married, you are allowed to touch it, but even then you're supposed to try to limit how you touch it and where you touch it. Okay, let's move on.
Wait,
So
I was discovered when we learned about that guy going
I know,
to the bathroom to learn about what
This
his
is-
cover was. It just said that he covered up, and that was it.
okay,
And you too were saying he covered up.
no, so this is actually different. This he wasn't looking. Maybe he was looking to learn. I don't know. Okay, maybe it would have fit in. Yeah, it fits in over there. Fits in there also. So Abaye says it's possible that because he was nervous about the river, Israel, Yishtarst, because he was nervous about the river. When you're in the river, you're nervous. You're scared you might lose your fitting. He was an older man already, so he was scared. When you're scared of something, you don't have time for other thoughts. You're focusing on
Just dipping
just
and
keeping your balance, right? So it would be actually permitted for him to touch at that moment while he was in the river because his mind was preoccupied in not falling, and therefore that he's not going to get his organ excited and he's not going to come to any sin.
I feel like that's not such a sufficient answer.
And where does he bring a proof from this? He brings a proof. He brings a proof that when you're nervous about something, you don't have time for other thoughts. He brings a proof from interesting law. This is a law regarding wine. Wine that a non-Jew touches becomes prohibited for a Jew to use. Why? Because we're scared that maybe the non-Jew will pour the wine for his idol worship. The olden days, it was a very common thing to pour wine for idol worship. It's one of the ways they used to serve their idols. And once that wine becomes poured for an idol, you can't use it. And even the rest of the wine in the whole barrel becomes prohibited. So if the law is, if a non-Jew touches the wine, if it's open, closed bottle is okay. If it's an open bottle, it becomes the whole bottle is prohibited. The law is that if a passing troops or army is coming through a city, and they used to happen very often, they used to plunder. That word? They used to plunder. They go into anyone's house and
Whatever they want.
wherever they want. We actually our landmark property that we bought on East 22. It's a reason why it's a landmark. What makes it famous is that during the Revolution War, British soldiers made their way into that house and they stay there. That's what makes the house famous. So during a war, and the soldiers come, sometimes not even during a war, they just come in and they plunder. So if a person, a Jewish guy, has in his house a whole bunch of barrels of wine, and a passing soldiers came into his house, and they were there for some time, and then they left. Does his wine become, all the wine in his house now becomes prohibited or not?
Are you asking me?
So that's the question. The answer is, the law is, what would you say?
It's prohibited.
You say it's prohibited. So the law is, all open barrels are prohibited, like you said, because maybe they poured it. And any sealed barrel is permitted, because we assume that they wouldn't go through the process of opening it, pouring it, and then sealing the barrel. They would just leave it open, right? If, however, this is during peacetime, which means that the soldiers were coming by, just going through a town, going over to some mission, but not through wartime. During wartime, the law is that all the wine in the house is permitted, even the open barrels. Why? Because they're busy with the war, their mind is occupied with the war. They're not now thinking about pouring wine for idols. Abaya says,
Wouldn't it be the opposite though? They're focused on war. Oh my gosh, let me delve into my quote unquote God to help me stay.
okay, so that's one way of thinking, but that's not what the Gemara says. That's a good point. 1 second. So based on that same logic, when you're scared of something or you're busy focused with something, you're not going to have any other thoughts. Therefore, since he's in the river and he's focusing on not falling, it would be permitted for him to touch.
Wouldn't it just have been easier to say, when a person has a lot of anxieties, they're afraid to take risks?
Yes, that's exactly that.
That's called being smart.
Right? It's
So being cautious.
It's simple. This is a simple explanation.
okay. Now Rabbi Huna says, he argues on Abaye. He says, no, you wouldn't want to be touching it either way. It's actually prohibited for a person to block his male organ for a different reason. A person blocking his organs is showing that he's embarrassed with his bris milah, circumcised. And you're not supposed to be embarrassed that you have circumcised. You should be proud that you're circumcised. So by you blocking it, you're showing that you're embarrassed by it.
Depends who's doing it for what purpose.
You don't have it.
On his level,
This is rated rated R. They didn't put it in.
on a bias level, it might be embarrassed of it. On another person's level, he's just trying to be
There's
modest.
different opinions. There's arguments. It's not halacha. This is not written in
What you're
Shulchan.
telling me tonight, I gotta sacrifice
Do not whip it out
100
there.
million goats, I gotta become a goat herder. Just for my sacrifices.
So now, the Gemara says to reconcile over here, it depends where you are. If you're going facing the river, which means your back is to everyone else, then you shouldn't block yourself, because then you're showing that you're embarrassed with your circumcision
To who?
to yourself.
Oh,
But if you're facing other people and now you don't want them to see because for modesty purposes, then you are allowed to block your.
you know, they got people on.
It depends which way. It depends which way you're facing. Now they bring down different rabbis, different opinions. Some they would, instead of blocking it shows that you're embarrassed. Another way of being modest is to bend your body. When you crouch, that's the word. When you crouch, when you bend down, you're also blocking your organs. So they would some rabbis would go into the water and out of the water while they were crouching, and this way it would be more modest. And they're not covering with their hands. They shouldn't show that they're embarrassed.
Just carry a branch.
What I saw commentaries rule is that if you're in a place where you have to be exposed, for example, in a shower, and you have to be exposed, then you're not supposed to block your organ, even if no one else is there, because then you're showing that you're embarrassed with the circumcision. But if you're in a place where people are meant to be covered, or most people are covered, then you should indeed have to cover
Go to
your.
mikvah.
So a mikvah is a place where you have to be covered. Some people, while they're waiting for their turn, they do cover themselves, because only in the shower itself or in the water itself.
I've seen grown men having a full conversation, like very relaxed.
Okay, but there's room to say both ways. Okay, so we're gonna stop over here. We have more. There's another whole discussion. We'll continue
Another
next week.
question, could you hit the pause?
Yeah, we're gonna stop the recording for today. Yeah, go ahead.
What if you